Hello everybody, I am MrGamingGuitarist, and welcome to my episode review for Season 3, Episode 5 of Halt and Catch Fire, and I need to load up my notes, if Touch ID will work. And this episode was titled Yerba Buena, which is, we find out, I think this is the first time they actually mention they have a title drop for the first time ever. I don't really remember if they ever did that before. Anyways, so of course, full spoilers for this episode. In here, we are going to discuss full spoilers. So please watch this episode. Please watch the episode of Halt and Catch Fire from tonight if you do not want to get spoiled. And if you don't care about spoilers, if you're one of those rare people, then go ahead and I guess you can just keep on watching. So anyways, let's talk about this. So it started off, this felt like the real bookend of the episode, where it starts and ends with Donna and Cameron arguing about the whole credit card transaction system in Mutiny, because Cameron at first you can tell, Cameron hates it because it's partially because it's Doug and Craig's idea, and she fucking hates Doug and Craig, and yet Donna wants to do it because she thinks because no one else is doing it yet. So we don't know at this time, how it's gonna work out. But of course, in the end, we find out. But next up, so anyways, the other part I really enjoyed is we get to see Bosworth and Cameron go on a road trip to Dallas. Now, I don't know if we ever got... I think this is the first time we truly get a lot more scenes of Donna and Cameron together. What am I saying? Of Bosworth and Cameron together. That was just really fun to see, because you don't really get to see just those two alone yet. So they got to spend some time together, and, that was pretty fun. So next up, something else that was funny was we got to see Bosworth's son, John. His name's James. We got to see James again, and him and his wife, and we get to see their baby. And the one thing that was really funny is how he said, "Hey, look, me and my grandson, we got the same hair." So the other thing that I thought was pretty funny is Ryan showed up at Joe's house on the 4th of July. And it's funny because you see Joe, he's in his bathrobe, and he's just walking there with his hair as fucked up as mine is, but my hair is always fucked up. Yeah, and it's funny how as soon as that computer was about to boot up, he said, "Please kill the computer." It's funny because Ryan definitely seems like a workaholic, and you can tell he doesn't really seem like a guy that focuses too much on having fun. So next up, so another thing that was fun is, we got to see Gordon and Donna spend the entire day by themselves having the 4th of July. Yeah, it is midnight. My brain's not working right, because I spent a long time at Whataburger. And I just got back to watch the episode. Ye olde brain isn't making the speech translate correctly out of my mouth. So anyways, and it was really funny when they just started fucking on the kitchen table. Because that's the only chance they could do it, because the kids and Cameron are not there. The other thing I thought was pretty damn huge. So Cameron, we get to see Tom for the first time this season. I thought it was going to take much longer until we see him, but hey, Tom's back. And the thing is, at first, I thought that they broke up. Tom and Cameron broke up at the end of the second season. So I was kind of surprised to see, the sparks still there, and of course, because this is 1986, they didn't have Facebook. But as we saw a few episodes before, Tom was still a subscriber to Mutiny, so he's still involved in there. and he knows about what's going on. So it was really good to see him again. So next up, oh yeah, so then we got to see Joe and Ryan talk about San Francisco, and it's funny how, Ryan talks about how exciting San Francisco is because he says, that's the great thing about this city. You build, things build up and fall, and you always get to start over. And Joe just simply says, I don't know if I have a next in me. And then we were wondering, why is he in such this really almost like why does it feel like Joe's really depressed? And then we'll see, we'll find out later. We'll talk about that. That's coming up. So next up, for the first time, we actually get to see James get mad at his dad, because typically he's pretty happy most of the time, but he seems very pissed that he didn't get to build his son's crib, and instead it was his dad that did it. And it's like he just felt very jealous of him, and just saying, hey, that's my son, why'd you build that crib, I'm his dad, stuff like that. So next up, we got to see more of Gordon and Donna acting like it's the 70s again, where they just spend the day fucking in bed and smoking weed at the end of it. Just, yeah, they must have been pretty wild in the 70s when they first met each other. So next up, this scene was really good because there were no words spoken. It's just and of course I have to give Mackenzie Davis a lot of praise for this one scene, because she wasn't saying anything. All she had to use was just her facial expressions. Like when she went to the seeing her go to the mutiny house, that was such like a big, huge emotional moment. Like there it is, that's the place where the thing that she's committed to her life to, this is where it is. She's seeing that for the first time in what feels like quite a while. And, she was looking up there, looking at the windows, because we don't know. Maybe someone else is currently living there now, but so far, no one's there. And, we see her climbing up the roof, and you can see just how important this house and how much it means to her. And we get to see, on a brick, it says Mutiny 1984 to 1985, or it says Mutiny was here. And then you see her pull out a brick, and there was a flask in there. And, that just felt like it was like a nice moment of calmness, that after all the crazy stuff that she's been going through over at Mutiny, like she gets to go back to her old stomping grounds, and she just drinks her flask and just watches the fireworks. That just felt like it was a calm, reflective moment, that it felt like it's something that Cameron really needed. So next off, we got to see... so then when it was in the morning and Ryan just slept on the balcony, and when he woke up, he saw Joe crying in his bedroom. And of course, we didn't know what it was. And, it was like the start of something, because, he says, I don't know if I have a next in me. And then it leads up to him crying. And we don't know what's going on with Joe. Like, was he crying because his mom died? Because he mentioned that earlier on in the episode. But no, turns out it wasn't that at all. So the next thing that happened. So, so Cameron ended up hesitating to go get her dad's bike, and Bosworth was pulling on her, was like pushing her to like go there to go get it. And and it was just such a great scene, because she just gets mad at him and says, you're not my dad. And you can tell, Bosworth has pretty much been a father figure to Cameron pretty much ever since at the end when they had that hug in season 1 when they were leaving for Comdex, and when they went to Vegas for that one convention. That was, and you can really see the bond and the relationships that they have. And the thing is, he says, she tells him, you don't know what I'm going through and all this stuff. And at this time, we still don't know what went wrong. Why exactly does she not get along with her mom? And why Bosworth said something really good. He says the first 20,000 miles are easy to drive through, but it's the next 8 feet that make you want to stop. But at the end, she hesitated, and they already sold the bike to someone else, and you can tell that this is very devastating for her. So when you see them driving, so you see Cameron just pissed and she walks off. But then here's the other part: you see Bosworth just floor it. He just goes away, and he just leaves her there. And Boz doesn't, you can tell, I think that's sort of his way of teaching her a lesson, of making her want to go there. But instead, we never see her actually visit her mom and stepdad. Now, one thing that's very surprising is, okay, I'll get to that later, because I like to do this in order in the scenes. So, oh, wait a minute, never mind. So that was the next thing. So anyway, we see Cameron actually walk to Tom's house. It's a big thing. It's a big deal. So at the end, she showed up to him. I guess, she still misses him. And that's the thing, Cameron and Tom really get along. And they bond together. They seem good together because they both speak the same language. Like, they understand coding and making programs and all this stuff. And through there, you get to see them care for each other. So you can tell, they absolutely still care for each other. So next up, oh, here's the thing. So for days, Cameron just doesn't show up. For the longest time, we're wondering, where is she? Where is she this whole time? And Donna just tells Doug and Craig to just go, you know what, fuck it, go ahead, do the beta, because Cameron just doesn't bother to show up. So you can tell she's pretty pissed about that. And Doug and Craig said, hey, what did you say about not being able to do it without Cameron being there? And then he tells her, well, she's not here, so just go, do it. So, okay, so next up, then we finally find out what Joe was so upset about. So it turns out, he gets his phone call, and Ryan, he just tells him to just leave, to just go. So he just goes, and, we're wondering what's so important about this phone call. And then you find out it's not a clinic. And then, this whole time, he got tested for HIV. And it's like, oh, fuck, that scared me, because, oh, shit. First last season, we had Gordon he had brain damage, and, that felt like a big arc. So does that mean Joe's going to be sick, too, this time? And, when they said, here are your results, and yet we don't hear what they are at first before it cuts to commercial, this was my reaction when I found out when they said that Joe got tested for HIV and we don't know what the results were. This is me being very scared for Joe. I don't know if you can see that very well, but, shit. But as you can tell, I was very shocked, because I was not expecting that. I mean, I guess I could have seen it coming because Joe's bisexual, and, the whole HIV and the AIDS thingamabob that's happening, and, AIDS is terrible. And I just hope that eventually, in my lifetime, people can find cures for brain damage and AIDS and cancer and all that stuff. But I was very scared for Joe. But then, at the end, it turns out you see him just go, and then you see him crying and just laughing. So he was crying tears of joy. So it looks like he didn't get HIV after all. But you can tell this is a thing that was very upsetting to him, very much troubling to him. So, I'm happy that for now, Joe seems to be okay, and he can go back to being the same old miserable bastard that loves to manipulate people, and yet we seem to laugh along with him the entire time. The next up. Okay, so then, after. Oh, okay, so next up, I thought it was very funny that we got to see Cameron's picture on a milk carton saying, "Missing, have you seen me?" I thought that was really funny. So then, next up, so Donna moves forward with the program, but then out of nowhere, out of the blue, Cameron just shows up, and it turns out like she said she would be there on Monday, but she didn't show up until motherfucking Friday. So of course, understandably, Donna is extremely pissed at that. So then we find out when they leave. Well, one thing I really liked was at first, they're very angry at each other. But then at the end, Donna's still pissed because even though Cameron's system of using just the Mutiny subscribers' routing numbers instead of them going through a credit card transaction system, even though the routing numbers work, and you can tell now she's starting to warm up. She's starting to be okay with the idea of Craig and Doug being there. But we get to see her really but then at the end, Donna's still pissed at her because she said she'd be back on Monday, and it's a sign of her being irresponsible. But then there was this just so well delivered scene where Cameron just says that when things get to something along the lines of when things get too crazy, I just need to hide in a hole for a while, she said something to collect myself, and things like that. And then she said that she was at Tom's house the whole time. So oh shit. So I guess her and Tom they are back together. And so then, and then he tells her, Tom says you're the best thing that ever happened to me, and he's right. Not just because he says it, but then he tells her that, speaking from the heart, she tells Donna, "You anchor me, and you make me a better person." And for a while, she says, and then she says, continued and says, I might have a weird way of showing it, but I've got your back. And Donna says, yeah, I've got your back too. And and then they just try to shake, it's like, partners, but fuck that Batman and Robin ending where Batman and Robin and Batgirl, which by the way, why the fuck it was Alicia Silverstone. Why the fuck did they make her Barbara Pennyworth? Anyways, and then, but at the end, they say partners, they shake hands and they fucking run the shadows towards the screen. What a shitty ass movie that was. Anyways, that's not besides the point. When when they shake, they say partners, but then instead Don just grabs her hand, just hugs her really tightly, and you can really see the bond, and you can see how much they truly actually do love and care each other, how much they love each other, how much they care about each other after mutiny's been going on now for about 3 years now, and they've really grown to bond, and it's in this scene where you can really see their relationship. It's like there's times where they can't stand each other, and there's times where where they love each other, and I just thought that was such a great scene that happened there. And next up, so now we kind of find out what Joe's plan is, which I'm still have such a hard time figuring out what it is. But Joe, so he just gets rid of the yarn chart they've been doing, and he only keeps the middle, and he says, we're going to make the NSF net available to the public. And I still don't know what it means. I don't really know what NSF net is, or what any of that stuff means, so that part really confuses me. So I really don't know what to make of that. But then you see Ryan get frustrated at Joe. He finally gets lots of things off of his chest. he says things like, what the hell happened? Like, he just says, 1 minute I'm working, and then you kick me off to another zip code. The minute you get a phone call, what's going on? And then he just says, I've had a rough week, and yet we can tell he's not ready to tell people that, he got tested for HIV and all this stuff. So he just says that, and then he just says, come have dinner with me. And so, it's like things are rocky, but I still don't know what the master plan is, what exactly they're trying to do. It's still very puzzling, and also, are we going to go back to Macmillan Utility? Are we ever going to see him back in the office? Because it feels like he just stays home. I guess that's what he's got managers for. So, next up. Oh, okay. So one thing I thought was genius is, I remember in last week's review, I was saying, is Donna going to find out what happened? I mean, is Cameron going to find out that Donna lied and said that Diane told her no to firing them? But then, holy shit, Cameron just calls up Diane and says, hey, thank you for everything. And then she just says, oh, I appreciate you wanting to stick with Doug and Craig, even though I would have paid you to fire them. And it's like, oh shit, this is where the shit hits the fan. This is when this is when Cameron finds out that Donna lied, and oh man, they just had that big, huge heart-to-heart moment, They held each other really tightly. It's like, goddamn, all that is going down the toilet. She finds out that Donna did something really bad. Oh shit. That's the thing, Cameron is very, she doesn't like big decisions being taken away from her control, and the fact that Donna lied to her, oh man, I'm gonna guess we're gonna get a big confrontation about that. And oh man, that's gonna be rough to watch. That's gonna be ugly. Oh my god, that's gonna be big. That's gonna be so fucking big. And when she hangs up, and you can tell it's like she's starting to panic. And then you see her go back up into her room / Joni's room, and she goes back into the bunk bed, and you see her just panicking. It's like, oh fuck, what's gonna happen? And she just says, what's gonna happen? Oh god. And she's panicking, but then, wait a minute, something happened that I just love the subtlety of this. This was so good. You just see her reach to her pocket, like, oh shit! She pulls out a fucking engagement ring. It's like, oh shit! I was not expecting that. And you see her put it on, and you just see her start smiling. So her, the edge of the stress and the panic and the anxiety of Donna lying, and mutiny being taken away from her control, and for big decisions and all that. And then she just finds out, looks like Tom proposed. So it's like, god damn. And then she just goes to bed smiling, because I guess now, like, her looking at that engagement ring, that is now a sign of, instead of her having to go away and hide in a hole, I guess that is her way of hiding in a hole, is just thinking about Tom. And Tom was Tom was great. Tom was a great character. You know what? I wonder if, it makes me think, though, is Tom going to, question of the video, do you think Tom is going to move to California so that her and Cameron can be together again? And question to the commenters watching, if anyone still cares and has made it this far, do you think that because what will happen, Cameron can eventually confronting Dawn about her lying, lying and saying that Dawn told her to not fire Doug and Craig. You think that's going to be a permanently damaging thing in their relationship? That's what I want to know. And so far, once again, this was just such a fantastic episode. Like, this show has never let me down ever. And it's like, goddamn, this was a 9. Solid. This was just a fantastic. This was a 9. I loved this episode. So anyways, Let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments down below. And thank you so much for watching my review for this week's episode of Halt and Catch Fire. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss out on me reviewing the future episodes of Halt and Catch Fire for this season. And also, I would appreciate it if you wanted to check out my Patreon page and support me there. I would appreciate it. And of course, I host the N4G TV podcast, which goes up every weekend on the N4G TV YouTube channel. Links to those will be in the description. And thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.